With the big game just a few days away, you'd better arm yourself with a dip, a wing, and some other thing, as we always say here at Dishing Out. This is Game Day Appetizers 4.0. Alright, we'll begin by making our French onion dip. Fun fact, they are called Frenched onions because of the way they are cut. That is to say, very thinly. So we're going to peel, top and tail, and French 2 to 3 large yellow or white onions. Following that, we will add 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter to a large skillet over medium heat. Add in all of our onions and season them with salt and pepper. And you can be pretty light with the salt and pepper here because these are going to cook down quite a bit. So if you season that volume of onions, you might wind up with some that are a little too salty. But in the meantime, we'll also add some garlic powder and a little shake of cayenne pepper for some heat. That is optional. Just stir those onions and spices around in that butter. I like to do this with a lid on for at least the first few minutes. Let that steam in there kind of drip back down in there and help cook these onions a little more quickly. But that being said, this is not a process that can be rushed. We're going to caramelize these onions, and it is going to take somewhere between 35 to 45 minutes, stirring them every 5 to 10 minutes until they get deeply brown and caramelized. You can also use that water and moisture that is leaching out of them to help you scrape up any fond on the bottom of the skillet. You could also add a splash of water if you cook this with the lid off or don't have enough moisture. But anyways, those are almost done. Let's go ahead and make the rest of the dip, which is going to begin with a touch of Dijon mustard, a little bit of mayonnaise, some sour cream, and some cream cheese. Absolutely nothing about this is healthy or good for you, but tastes pretty darn delicious. So highly recommend giving it a try. And speaking of recommendations, I cannot be bothered to get a food processor or stand mixer dirty for one tiny little bowl of food like this. So I'm using a bowl and a spoon. And it was considerably difficult to get all of those things combined and well mixed. So highly recommend using an appliance if you have one, but a spoon and a bowl will do the job. We'll add in those onions. Go ahead and give that a good thorough mix. Taste for salt and pepper. And once it tastes just like we like it, or at least like we think we're going to like it, we'll cover it and pop it in the fridge overnight, at least overnight. 24 hours would be even better because these flavors have to get to know one another for this to taste proper. Anyways, once we're there, we will bowl it up, add a few garnishes of chive, and set that aside. Proceed with our next appetizer. That's your French onion dip. Anyways, our chipotle deviled eggs start with, yeah, you guessed it, eggs. We're going to add about a dozen, maybe a few less or a few more depending on what you got hanging around in the fridge, to a bowl of cold water, or a pot I should say. We'll then bring that up to a simmer. You never want to start eggs in boiling water. They can crack too easily. Once they are boiling, cook them for 10 to 12 minutes, and then drain them and add them to a pot of frigid ice water. Shouldn't be too hard to find that this time of year. And you're going to give them at least 10 minutes in that ice bath, but you could really pop them in the fridge at this point. And when you're ready to make your deviled eggs, just go ahead and peel them. I like to crack mine in a few different places on a hard surface such as a cutting board, and then just peel them. It can be a little faster if you do it under running water or in a bowl of water as well. Go ahead and rinse them off, and once they are shell-free, you're good to go. We're just going to go ahead and cut these in half, being careful not to tear the egg or damage it too much. Once we've cut it in half, just go ahead and gingerly plop those yolks out into a bowl and set the white halves aside on a serving plate. We'll go ahead and add a little bit of mayonnaise, a little bit of Dijon mustard, and a little bit of yellow mustard for a little bit more vibrancy, vinegar, and color. And then because these are chipotle deviled eggs, I'm going to go in with 2 different elements from this can here. We're going to do a little bit of this adobo sauce, which is smoky and tangy. Of course, a little bit spicy. And then I've got 2 minced chipotles in adobo that I added, but you could add 1 or even none if you just wanted a little smoky flavor without the heat. Once that's in there, we'll season with salt and pepper and go ahead and mash and mix this all up. And just like with the French onion dip, this is a lot easier in a food processor or stand mixer, but here again, I just switched to a potato masher and found that it really didn't take too much extra effort to get this nice, smooth, and well mixed. So if you've got a piping bag laying around, like to do a lot of baking, you'd grab that here, but we've got a Ziploc bag and it does the job just fine. Go ahead and add your filling to that Ziploc bag, cut one corner off, leaving yourself about a 1/4 inch opening, and then just pipe that filling right into those holes. Deviled eggs are traditionally garnished with a little bit of paprika, but because these are chipotle deviled eggs, I've got some chipotle powder, which I'm just going to sprinkle over the top, being careful not to get any large chunks of it, considering, it is a little bit more spicy than standard paprika. And then, keeping with our chive theme here, I've got some little 1-inch pieces of chive that I'm just going to tuck into each one of these eggs as a garnish. And those are going in the fridge. They're ready to go. And finally, for our wings this year, we're going to do a gochujang, kind of an Asian theme wing. So I've got some salt and pepper going onto 2 pounds of wings in a large bowl. We'll add about a tablespoon or so of baking powder. That's bringing absolutely no flavor to the party, but it is going to help these wings get extra crispy in the oven, which is exactly where we're going to cook them. I just find oven wings are simpler and easier to do than deep frying. But again, cook your wings however you'd like them. The sauce is really the boss here. It is absolutely divine, and we'll get to that in just a second. But as far as these wings go, I like to cook mine on a wire rack on a baking tray, and I'm doing this at 400 degrees with convection. If you didn't have convection, I'd go ahead and do it up to 425. Once they are in a nice even layer, you want to try and keep them as spread out as possible so they can cook evenly and get some nice color. We'll pop them into that oven. Give them 20 minutes, a little head start. Not going to look that great right now, but we're going to go ahead and flip them over. And we'll give them another 20 to 25 minutes, or once again, just until they are going to be done inside, of course, and reach the color and crispy level that we're looking for. These were absolutely perfect. I'm going to let those cool off for just a moment so they'll be like at a temperature one could actually eat. And that'll give us just enough time to make our sauce. So that's going to start with a tablespoon or so of olive oil in a little pan or pot. We'll crush in a couple cloves of garlic, add the same amount of ginger. By the way, guys, all these exact amounts are down below for you. So please, no need to take notes as you're following along here, because I know you're going to want to make these. Give that a 60-second head start before adding in some honey. The aforementioned gochujang, which is just a Korean chili pepper paste. Pretty easy to find in most grocery stores, but you could always go to the Asian supermarket if needed. We'll add in some soy sauce for umami and salt, a little bit of vinegar for some tang, and because the honey is just not sweet enough, a little brown sugar. I also like to add a little dash of sesame oil here for that nice smokiness. Go ahead and stir all that to combine, bring it up to a simmer, and reduce it slightly. Just once it's bubbling and reduced slightly, you're pretty much good to go here. Now, if this gets too thick on you because your gochujang doesn't have enough water in it, or just too thick in general, just add a splash of water. It's that simple. Once your sauce is where you need it, go ahead and pour it over your wings. And if you use a nice large bowl here, you can actually just toss these things up in the air, but this bowl was not large enough, so I very carefully tossed my wings around in that piping hot sauce until they were thoroughly coated. You can toss them back in the oven at this point, I should say, if you really want to have that glaze lacquered on there, but they were just perfect at this point. So I went ahead and took my glazed gochujang wings, put them down onto a serving plate, and we're not going to waste an ounce of that gochujang sauce. Make sure you drizzle that all over the top. We'll also hit it with a few sesame seeds, and, again, there's some chives just to keep the theme consistent here. And that is a beautiful, glossy, sticky, tangy, smoky, spicy, delightful chicken wing. This is the 4th wing recipe we've done for our Game Day app series, and I gotta say, this is probably my favorite. It is absolutely divine. This sauce would be so good on a lot of different things, but onto those chipotle deviled eggs. Keeping with our theme here, we've got smoky and spicy, tangy, a little bit vinegary from that adobo sauce we put in there. Oh man, just creamy. And if you like deviled eggs, you're gonna absolutely love these. Great little change up from the traditional deviled egg. And finally, a craveable dip that you don't have to open a aluminum can to get. This French onion dip is going to be a hit. I absolutely guarantee it. There is such a depth of flavor you get from caramelizing your own onions. And then, of course, anytime you mix mayonnaise, sour cream, and cream cheese together, something good, or, well, at least fattening, is going to happen. So, hope you'll give us a try. 1, 2, or all 3 of them. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoy the game. Hope your team wins. Of course, that's not possible for all of us. And, well, I hope you go make something delicious.